Welcome to Just Break Up, the podcast about love, heartbreak, and all the relationship advice you don't want to hear. My name is Sierra DeMulder.
And I'm Sam Blackwell, and today we're going to answer a letter from somebody who's wondering how to let go of an ex in their new relationship. But before we begin, we just want to give you our Surgeon General's warning, which is that Sierra and I are not licensed mental health practitioners.
No, we are not. We are not professionals. We are not trained in any of this. These are literally just our opinions. So please take our advice as you see fit. We're only here to offer our humble musings to hopefully shed some understanding and maybe some laughs about the incredibly rewarding but mostly confusing experience that is love.
It is like, you also shouldn't
Mostly
listen to our
confusing.
advice because like we've held on to exes for too long sometimes. Both of us have.
You should listen to us because we've let them go. And that leads
just like
me to
years
today's
later.
letter. All right. And some of us have married them.
That's true.
All right. Today's letter is coming to us from Blossoming Love, whose pronouns are she, her, and who is writing to us from the ghost of exes past. Dear Sam and Sierra, first of all, I appreciate the work you do so much. I've been a listener for about a year now, and the two of you have gotten me through some seriously difficult times, and for that, I'm incredibly grateful. I'm writing with a question that maybe could be more of a check-in topic. Turns out it's not. It's a full letter. I'm wondering if you two have any musings on letting go of remaining attachments to exes when there's still so much love that remains there, particularly when navigating the potential of being with someone new. I've been broken up with by my ex for a year now and still love them very much and have spent a lot of time dreaming and praying for a reconciliation. It's becoming gut-wrenchingly clear to me that this is not going to be happening anytime soon for various reasons. Though the breakup was very painful, we have done a lot of healing, both together and apart, and though we don't talk regularly, nor have we seen each other in some time, we are still on good terms. It was ultimately ended because of a misalignment in our desires for the relationship and being in different places in our lives with different goals. I know it was the right decision for the both of us, though I still dream of a reality where we are brought back together again in the distant future. I know they feel the same way as they have expressed the same hope. In the meantime, I have met someone new, someone wonderful who is so aligned with my life and heart, but I still feel a remaining sense of loyalty to my ex that I just can't shake. I feel like it's holding me back from being able to sink into the full experience of this new love for fear of hurting my ex when they find out and fear of the finality of closing the door with them for good. I don't want to bring any of my lingering yearnings, hopes, desires for my ex into my new potential relationship. I've spoken with my new person about some of these feelings, and they are very understanding and accepting of them, but I still don't want them to continue hanging on as the intimacy grows. Any thoughts would be greatly appreciated. With love.
Oh, all right. Blossoming Love, thank you so much for writing. I think that this feeling that you're experiencing of this painful breakup that doesn't necessarily have like a closed door, like that person is dead to me because of the thing that they did, but instead is sort of this, like, it's just not working and maybe it will work at some point, and wouldn't that be lovely, is both like an emotionally like tender place to be, right? Like I think that it can feel kind of good to be in a place like this where it's like this longing, this nostalgia, this yearning, and it's also really challenging for us because I think that sometimes that like feeling of like I lost my love at sea, or like when will they return, can feel like romantic, right? Like deeply sort of like, oh, we are connected to each other, this string will bring me back to you at some point, right? Like I think that there's something that is beautiful and sort of intoxicating about that feeling of connectedness. And so I can totally understand how it's hard to let go of that feeling, especially when you continue to have so much love for this person who, again, like didn't necessarily do anything wrong to you, but just instead was in a different place in their life than you were. And I can also understand that you want a fresh slate as you are approaching a new possibility with somebody else, right? And I totally empathize with how difficult it can be to sit in those two seemingly competing realities of wanting to hold on to this beautiful, tender, romantic, loving feeling for this person, while also recognizing that the world is full of potential, that this person that you are starting to see is also full of potential, that good love could be there. And the fear that you might have that if you don't approach this possible good love, this possibility of tenderness with a completely blank slate, with the right mindset, that you might lose it, that you might not be able to grow it into something that can sustain and nourish you. And I just have so much empathy for that. I totally understand it. And I just want to say, like, I see you in the deep complexity of all of those different emotions. And I think what Sierra and I are going to offer you when we get back from the break is not necessarily a, like, get over it, friend, or a, oh my God, go back to your ex type advice. But instead, I think what you're hoping for, and I hope what we'll be able to, like, offer, is some of our perspective on what it feels like and is like to hold the complexity of all of these very true things in your head, your heart, and your body. So we're going to get into some of that in just a moment. But before that, we're going to take a quick break.
All right, my darlings, welcome back into The Letter Writer. Thank you so much for trusting us with this letter. As somebody who has been hung up on people or held space for big loves of my life for way too long, I feel like I am an expert. I feel like I'm uniquely qualified to tell you my opinions on this, because not only have I had these lingering loves, like, I've carried these lingering loves throughout my life. I also married one. I married an ex that I thought about for years. We hadn't spoken to each other, we hadn't seen each other in 12 years or whatever. And now we're back together. So I know I am proof of what a lot of people come to this show looking for, which is that, like, it can be rekindled, right? So I'll speak to that first. Because you talk about this metaphor of, like, closing that door fully. I want you to know that the time apart from my wife was not just necessary for us to get back together. It was mandatory. There would be no other path. I could not be the person my wife needed me to be if I hadn't fully closed the door and moved on and lived my life and learned my lessons and became the person I needed me to be in order to be the person she needed me to be. The door closing on our relationship, if it had been left open at all, if I had ever thought that there was a chance of us getting back together, it would have actually hindered my growth. It would have hindered the experiences and the opportunities that I allowed myself to have. And those exact experiences and opportunities were what led to me maturing and growing up and becoming a more whole and capable person, one that is able to now sustain this relationship with her. It gave me so much perspective, all of these other people. And I'm speaking to you from the idea that maybe there's a potential for this ex to be rekindled in the future. But I also want to remind you that closing that door fully is what allows you to find the other great loves of your life. There's so much potential out there. There's so much love out there. And this new person to you, literally your words say that they're so aligned with my life. They bring me such good energy. They're showing up in ways that the other person couldn't. And I know that we get a lot of, like, mixed messaging around loyalty, but we're put on this earth to find connection, right? To find love. And it is totally possible to have this leftover love for someone and be able to move on to someone else. It's very normal to have feelings for more than one person at the same time. I think that we're told that it's not. We're told that it's, bastardly and corrupt, and it's not. It's a part of the human experience to be, to mourn a love that just wasn't quite right, but you could see the potential of. and then to meet somebody else and to have those loves sort of feel like they're at odds. And I guess a small perspective shift that I want to offer you is that these feelings feel like they're at odds, but they're not. It's how I'm relating to these feelings. It's how I'm carrying these feelings that makes them feel at odds. You're totally allowed to have residual love for your ex that you really wanted. You wanted it to work out, right? You wanted it to be something that it isn't. And so you have that leftover love, right? And now you have this new love, this new exciting potential. And what is at odds right now isn't the fact that you have both of them. What's at odds is that you feel this sense of loyalty that you can only feel one at a time, right? I'm kind of all over the place here. I'm like, close the door. You could marry them one day, only if you close the door. But also it's okay. But yeah. I don't know. I just...
I'm with you. I'm with you because all of this...
Are you?
No, I think it speaks to the complexity of these situations, right? Like, and I think this is kind of what I was kind of trying to get at when I was talking before the break was just that, like, we often assume that these situations need to be like black and white, right? That it's like we need to be over our ex before we can start to move on, or that like, oh, I can't feel love for my ex and tenderness toward them while also feeling tenderness and love towards this new person, right? And we're so much more capable of these types of complexity than we think that we are. And I think that even like, especially like as we have had more of these conversations, right? It feels like more of us are practiced at being able to hold the complexity of other people too, right? Like starting to date someone and being like, oh, you are, you know, navigating what it looks like for you to be out of this relationship and also navigating what it looks like to be in a relationship with me. And I think, again, the important thing here is that we recognize that we're capable of holding all of these things at the same time. And we want to be in relationship and partnership with people who are also capable of holding all of these complex things at the same time. Like I know that I think that we, for a long time, and some of us may still have this idea, right? Like we wanted people to come to us blank, right? We wanted people to come to us without histories. And I think that's not true as much anymore, right? Like, I think folks are definitely more understanding of it. So as you're navigating what something new looks like, I think it's important to remember that, like, yeah, for sure, maybe don't talk about your ex like 24/7. Like, I think that might be too much. But I want you to recognize and appreciate the fact that, like, there are people out there who are going to be able to hear you say, I still am navigating what it looks like for me to be distant from my ex, right? To figure it out, to understand what it means for me as a person to not have this person in my life, while also being interested in dating and pursuing something with you. And that people are capable of hearing that. And I think for me, I would appreciate hearing that from somebody when I was dating them, to say like, okay, so this person is somebody who's thinking about things, right? Like they're feeling things. They can be in touch with all of the different aspects of their experience that are coming up for them. And so you don't need to be a blank slate to start dating someone else. You don't need to have everything resolved with what your experience about your ex is to be able to be open to relationship with somebody else, right? It's not one door is closed and the other door opens, right? Like, it's like, no, there are lots of different doors open at the same time. And in fact, like, this isn't even a room at all. It's like a forest with like tons of different variables that are part of it, and 17 million different paths that we could walk down. And that complexity is beautiful and rich and human. And I can also totally understand how it's intimidating and scary and uncontrollable. But I think being in deep relationship with people requires us to be able to accept and understand the complexity of all of the different things that we're feeling about ourselves and our other people and the people that we're currently in relationship with.
Yes, all of that and everything I said before that. And I'm going to continue to be an asshole this episode and say something a little weirder, which is, there's no doors. We're all in a nebulous forest. And also, another thing that I had to tell myself when I was like moving through some of these feelings for other people, or like the will they, won't they, there were people that were taking up space in my heart and my head And I think at one point in my life, I had to realize that I could carry a torch for them forever. I could just do this forever. Like, you could do what you're feeling right now forever. You could live in this limbo, this purgatory, really. It is, right? You're waiting for this relationship to reach its full potential without allowing your life to reach its potential, right? And at one point or another, you have to tell yourself, my life deserves the potential too. I think I had to tell myself, like, do you want to wait in the wings? Do you want to have them in the back of your mind forever? Or are you willing to like exhale a little, to like give your body and your heart a little space and maybe not carry them and say, you know what? It's okay if we never get back together. It's okay if we never become what I imagined we could become. That's so painful, but that's so liberating, because all of a sudden you're not bound by what you imagined could happen or will happen one day, but instead to this very moment, to the present moment, to what is actually fueling your life. I'm excited about this new person in your life. They sound really good. They sound compatible. They sound like they're bringing good energy to your heart after a year of feeling really sorrowful over the ending of this other relationship. And sometimes new people can show us what's out there, can show us what we've been depriving ourselves of: pleasure, love, affection, feeling good about yourself. You deserve to feel good about yourself. And I'm only offering this bizarre note, which is just like, do you want to hold a torch for this person forever? like 40 years from now, and you're like, oh man, I really wish we could still be with this person. Or do you want to give yourself an opportunity to experience something different? I know that almost comes off heartless. That's not what I mean, but I think I just saw what like years of waiting looked like. Years of being on the sidelines of this person's life while not actually allowing myself to go anywhere else or be anything else. So I just want to say, like, how about this? Marrying my 2 points. The idea that I married my ex, and also I never thought I would see my ex again. At the end of the day, you are all there is. At the end of the day, you are the only thing you truly have in this world. And I know that it feels like this one person, this one vision of your relationship is what can make your life full, but you don't need to wait for that person. You can seek it on your own. The world is for seeking. It's for learning. It's for making mistakes. It's for falling in love with people and falling out of love with people. It's about rekindling relationships, and it's also about putting that fire out forever. This is all a part of the journey, and I respect and recognize why you are holding space for this person in your life. But I'm also here to say, like, that's not necessarily how you pave a path back to that person. And it's also not how you pave a path of healing for yourself. Like, you have to be living in the now for yourself, right? And also, on top of the fact, like, this person's out there living their life. Your ex is living their life. They might be dating somebody else right now. Like, I don't want you to deny yourself the love that's available to you because you're living in a potential future.
That's real.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I think that it's just the complicated nature of our relationships and the ways in which we are trying to hold on to the things that we want to be true in the future with what's in front of us in the moment. And sometimes we have to make the decision to say, I need the thing that's here and now and sustain me and has actual promise, right? Like, not just future potential, but actual promise. And I need to spend time and energy on that, which means that I have to spend less time and energy on a potential future that is completely unknown. But again, holding that it's not just like you pick one or the other, right? Like you spend time, you prioritize, you remind yourself of what your goal is, right? And also, it's okay if your ex still comes into your mind. It's okay if that yearning still has a place in your heart somewhere. It's okay if that door doesn't feel 100% closed. You are still capable of being in meaningful and deep relationship with people. And if that's your priority right now, which I think it should be, right? Because this person is here in front of you and is saying, let's see where things go. Let's make this happen. Then that does mean that you eventually do have to start saying less and less, oh, I wish I were with my ex. I wish things were different. And instead spend more time saying, okay, sure, but also I have something in front of me that's worth my time, that's worth my attention, that's worth my love, and spend and intentionally make the decision to spend the time, the attention, and the love on that thing, while also not beating yourself up or telling you can't or shouldn't think about your ex, right? Because then that's when we start to get in the spiral of like, oh God, I shouldn't think about them. I shouldn't think about them. But instead being like, yes, there they are. They're over there. They are choosing not to be with me. So I'm going to spend time and attention with this person who is choosing actually actively to figure out what a relationship with me could look like.
Absolutely. All right, my darling. I know I was all over the place, but Sam had some good advice in there somewhere. And most importantly, we know that you deserve love, that you deserve connection, and you deserve healing. And we hope you go out and get it. We love you.
Thank you so much for writing. We hope that this helps.
All right. It's Friday, which brings us to the blind date segment of our show. Every Friday, we like to shout out something that we love, that we want to set you up with. And this week, we are sending you home with
a show on Netflix called Scavenger's Reign. It is an animated show for adults that is about a like in the future spaceship that crash lands on a planet that is like full of these like weird sort of like mushroomy creatures. It's really interesting. It's beautifully written. The score is beautiful. And it's basically about these like groups of people who all like sort of crash landed in different places trying to get back to their ship. But it is like some of the most creative animation and storytelling that I've experienced in a long time. Like I am in constant like sort of like, what is this? It is like bloody and like kind of gross. So like know that going in. Like it is, I was watching it at one point. I was like, oh, Peter would like this because he like loves horror. It's like, it's got some horror-ish elements to it. But it's really interesting. And the voice acting is really good. And just like the animation style is just like really, really beautiful. It was on HBO originally, but they just released it on Netflix. I think you can watch it in both places. But if you're into like adult sort of like very atmospheric, cartoony, creative, sci-fi, kind of like horror adjacent things, you should check it out because it's really good. Again, it's called Scavenger's Reign, and it is currently on Netflix. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like more content from us, or if you would like access to our monthly office hours, you can support us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month, you'll get an additional bonus weekly episode. That's patreon.com/justbreakuppod.
You can slide into our DMs, send us your favorite relationship memes, but most importantly, you can submit your questions about all matters of the heart at justbreakuppod.com, which is also where you can find our merchandise.
Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review. This literally keeps our mics on and helps us reach more brokenhearted souls who need two random strangers giving them relationship advice.
Just Break Up is a production of Duvid Media, original music, recording, editing, producing all magical things by our good friend Spencer Worth Davis. Make sure to check out his podcast and his music. And remember, your heart contains so much potential. It contains the possibility of so many loves, of so many heartbreaks, of so many hopes and dreams and desires. Don't limit yourself. Seek out joy and pleasure and the people who are there and present and are putting in the energy to be with you. And if all else fails,
just break up.